What's crack, guys? Omar Isaf here, back with another video. In this video today, a muscle group you guys have wanted me to talk about, the neck. I get a lot of comments on this channel, yo Omar, what have you done for your neck? And the answer is nothing directly, nothing intentional. The title of this video is true, how I accidentally grew my neck muscles. I'm going to explain what worked for me, why it might not work for you, and then also give some shout outs if you're looking to grow your neck. I think some individuals, they take a look when it comes to what you wear, a t-shirt, and a few areas stick out. You got your arms basically, forearms, and you got your neck. That's all that's visible. So some people see neck muscles, I think it looks very masculine, it's something that they want to achieve. I would say if you have a pencil neck, you've trained everything else and it just seems like your neck's not grown, there are a few things you can definitely look into. I'm going to shout out first off if you want to look at actual neck training, because when I reference the European Applied Journal of Physiology, they took two different groups of people. The first group did your typical deadlifts, rows, a lot of different compound movements, things that you think would grow your neck, would grow your traps, and then they took another group and they made them do essentially neck extension exercises in addition to that. So they do a loaded neck extension exercise, like so. And what ended up happening is that those that did do direct neck work, so neck extensions, they did grow their neck muscles by about 13%, I believe it was, whereas the group that did not do direct neck work did not grow their neck. There's no significant changes. If your goal is to grow your neck directly, I will link in the description. Give a shout out to Alpha Destiny because he has a lot of videos on this specific topic, how to grow your neck, the different neck extension exercises, also why rack pulls, it is true, because if you take a look at where your traps get stimulated in the deadlift, when it comes to the knee position, when it gets to around the knee, they are recruited more, your traps, so it does make sense to do rack pulls above the knee. So if that is your goal, if you want to grow your neck, cool, check out those references in the description, some of those videos. I'm going to talk about what worked for me. Before we go on, 3 different things I got to say. The first is if we talk about the different neck muscles, there's a lot of them. There's your sternocleidomastoid, which is the side. It assists when it comes to neck flexion. You got your scalenes, you got your traps, which also do help when it comes to elevating your scapula. Each plays a different function. What I want to talk about today is how I accidentally grew my neck. And when I say accidentally, that is because I've been observing lifters for quite some time, and for me, because I did not train it or choose to train it directly, the 3 major things I would say that assisted with my neck growth over time. I measured my neck recently, and it depends if you measure up here or down here, but I did have measurements from several years ago, I think 4 years ago, and my neck was about 14.5, 15 inches approximately, and there's a direct, or there seems to be some correlation between your overall neck size and then the hypertrophy throughout the rest of your body. But bottom line is my neck used to be about 14.5, 15 inches, and now it's over 16.5, more like 17, depending upon where you measure, without directly training my neck. But the big key when I say 3 things, the first one would be deadlifts, but it depends upon your neck position. See, I've been taking a look at a lot of bros, how they deadlift, and what I noticed for myself, some other people, I have to give a shout out to Bryce Lewis because I observed this. I thought, this dude has a thick neck. Some people will say the function of the traps are to isometrically contract when you're doing the deadlift. So they don't got a whole lot of movement going on. They are used, but maybe not as much as people think. Now, if we change this a little bit, if we stop just thinking about the traps and also think about the relative neck position when it comes to deadlifting, this changes, I personally feel, because you'll notice some people have a neutral neck position when they deadlift. They'll stay in this position, they'll look down, then they come up, they're also looking down. Other people, such as myself, Bryce Lewis, a lot of other deadlifters, you'll notice when they do the deadlift, naturally in order to keep that, let's talk about global extension of their spine, what they'll do intuitively, they'll look down, and as they lift the weight up, they'll essentially start to do that neck extension. So they'll start to move their neck up as they deadlift the weight. I'm not recommending this at all. Again, I'm telling you what accidentally grew my neck. I think this was a very big factor because you'll notice all throughout my first maybe 4 or 5 years of doing the deadlift, I did this naturally, just as a way, I think, once again, to keep that extension of the neck. For some people, this certainly will not work. It might, in fact, injure your neck, but a lot of deadlifters do this. You will notice this, and I do think this played a huge role because not only is that now isometric action of the traps doing the work, but because you're lifting the weight and you're standing up with it while moving your neck under load, it will definitely have, I think, a stronger hypertrophic response. So deadlifts and moving your neck at the same time, I think, is a totally different movement than doing deadlifts with your neck neutral when it comes to neck growth. So that's my big number one thing why my neck accidentally grew. The second thing that I would say, and I joked about this when people did leave a comment, yo Omar, like your neck's gotten a lot bigger, what have you done? Is number two, to suck at weightlifting. And I'm partially joking, but I'm serious because I'm going to shout out weightlifting now. And that is because the top position, depending upon what you do, your mobility, some people, they externally rotate when they catch the bar or they have any weight over their head. Chinese weightlifters, what they'll tend to do, they'll internally rotate, so they'll shrug up their traps. Me, for myself, I have poor mobility, so what I actually do, I do that internal rotation where I shrug up when I catch the bar on the snatch. And so some people won't do that. For myself, I do that because things also feel unstable. I still don't have the technique down. I'm compensating in a few different areas. My traps do feel stable. They do feel strong thanks to all the overhead presses, deadlift work I've done. So I'll tend to load my traps more. So I'll shrug up really hard to try and stabilize that weight as I'm lifting. And that's largely because my bar path, when it comes to weightlifting, it's not straight, it's not perfect, and so the bar usually lands in a poor position, so my traps have to do a lot more work to stabilize while it's elevating that scapula, the bar over my head. So I'm joking, but I'm also serious when I say not being good at weightlifting can unintentionally grow certain muscles, in this particular case, the traps. The other points 3 and 4, I would say, number 3 would for sure, and I got to give a huge shout out. I made that video on the serratus anterior. I would also say the overhead press, high frequency overhead presses, while also doing a hold at the top. Again, we talked about the trap, this big muscle back here, the whole function of helping to elevate the scapula. So doing that, where you'll probably notice this every single set, I'll just hold that top position for stability. At the top of the overhead press, there's that elevation of the scapula. You shrug up, right, with your traps. So I do that. I was on a whole high volume block of overhead press last year where I did it 3 to 4 times a week. I still press probably more frequently than the average person. So that was the third contributing factor. The fourth one would be, and that's why when we reference the deadlift, where are the traps activated the most? And we do tend to notice at that knee position, hence why rack pulls above the knee are beneficial. That's one, and I would say, well, that does work. Some people, you know, you load up the weight, you don't have that technique, you can injure yourself. The fourth one I would say, going back to weightlifting, me doing pulls. So what are pulls in weightlifting? You do a clean pull, you do a snatch pull. At the top, you have to shrug up with the traps. There's a lot of direct trap work. You're trying to be as explosive as possible. There's a lot of time under tension because you're holding the load, the pull or whatever, throughout the concentric as well as the eccentric, and then at the top you're doing an explosive shrug. So think it's kind of like doing a deadlift, but at the top you also shrug up your traps. What's probably going to grow your neck, your traps more? Doing a traditional deadlift or doing then a deadlift with an explosive shrug at the top? Probably adding that shrug. So I would say those 4 factors, depending upon how you deadlift, that really depends upon the person. Some people can get away with it. They do naturally. I am one of those people. I gave you that example of Bryce Lewis, what he'll look up. A lot of people do that. Top deadlifters, you will notice that. And I think that neck extension at the same time of the traps stabilizing, huge neck growth. The second point would be weightlifting, especially if you don't do it correctly, where your actual muscles, then you don't have that structural stability, so you have to have essentially muscular stability. Your traps do the work, would be number 2. Number 3 would be a heck of a lot of overhead presses. And then finally, number 4 for myself would be doing a lot of pulls. Instead of doing rack pulls above the knee, which are a viable alternative, it just doesn't fit inside of my training routine. So for myself, pulls, clean pulls, snatch pulls, they kind of mimic that same function. They also contributed. When I made this video and I said how I accidentally grew my neck, that's exactly what I meant, because I never had that intention. There's certain areas, we talk about the chest, we talk, you know, glutes are very important when it comes to the squat, the deadlift. The neck for myself, I never was like, yeah, man, I want my neck to get jacked up, I want it to grow. It kind of just happened. I get now a lot of comments. Hopefully that explains what happened to me. I would say for you, if you do want to learn more about growing your neck, I will link in the description some resources for you. That's it, guys. That is the video. That is all the time we have. Thank you for watching the video. You guys, when I said, what do you want to see next? I made a video when it came to serratus anterior. You said, yo, talk about your neck, Omar. What happened? Well, this is it. How I accidentally, unintentionally essentially, grew my neck by several inches over the last few years. Just keep in mind one thing for those that really want to grow their neck, they're really interested in exploding their neck. There is some research that shows growing your neck too big can negatively impact you potentially when it comes to certain medical issues like sleep apnea, problems sleeping at night. So just keep that in mind. I'll also link that in the description. I know everyone wants to grow every area of their body. Just think about that, something to think about. That's all the time we have. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you liked the video, make sure to like the damn video, and I'll be seeing all you guys, my rascals, in that next video. Peace. Eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables, eat your fucking vegetables.